Shocking secrets of the Nephilim exposed, how fallen giants changed everything during the flood. Few knew what truly happened that night. As the skies roiled and darkness swallowed the earth, fear whispered through the hearts of men. They gathered on the mountains, eyes wide, breath quickened. Legends spoke of giants Nephilim who walked among them, feared and revered. But who were they, really? Were they mere myths, or was there something sinister behind their origin? In that ancient world, a time long before the floods washed away civilization, these beings roamed freely. Cloaked in shadows, they were said to be the offspring of angels and humans. Who could fathom their power? Their presence sent shivers down spines. They were towering figures, their eyes ablaze with an otherworldly light. What thoughts brewed in their minds? What dark ambitions stirred within their colossal hearts? Historians often spoke of the flood as a cleansing event, a divine reset. But within that narrative lay an uncomfortable truth. For the Nephilim left scars on the earth, tales of fierce battles and unsettling alliances. Did they turn against humanity, or did humanity, in its desperate state, beckon the giants? A surge of dread flowed through the air as people sought answers, desperately hoping for salvation. The ground trembled beneath their feet as thunder rumbled above, echoing the chaos in their hearts. Family members clutched each other tightly, terror-stricken. What are we to do? One man cried out, voice cracking. All eyes turned toward the heavens, questioning the divine. Was salvation possible, or were they doomed to a watery grave? Miraculous signs appeared in the sky, a luminous glow contrasting against the storm. Was it hope or deceit? The air buzzed with anticipation. A shimmering light descended, casting a halo upon the ground. Is this a sign? Whispers filled the crowd, disbelief clashing with faith. Yet, was the light truly there to guide them or lure them into a deeper darkness? As the waves rose, licking at the shores with an eerie hunger, minds raced with possibilities. Could the giants, fractured by their own creation, hold the key to survival? What if they were not just rogue destroyers but protectors lost in the chaos? The tension hung heavy in the air, amplified by anxious glances and hurried breaths. As dawn approached, an ultimatum lurked. The world watched, holding its breath, awaiting a revelation. Were the giants a curse or a hidden blessing? With each passing second, dread mixed with a flicker of hope, leaving the question suspended like the clouds above. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the first light of dawn broke over the chaotic landscape, the air became thick with the sense of earth and sea, mingling with a palpable tension. In the distant echoes of thunder, a low, haunting cry trembled through the valleys, raising questions more profound than the tempest. The people, now frightened shadows clinging to each other, sensed that the floodwaters were more than mere physical annihilation. It was a spiritual reckoning that had begun, a confrontation with the unseen. They looked to the shimmering light that persisted, unwavering amidst the chaos. Was it a haven or a trap? Whispers of the ancients echoed in hymns of despair and hope alike, urging them to recognize what they were on the brink of losing and gaining. The thought of giants, beings once revered, now floated like a distant dream. Could the Nephilim serve a purpose beyond destruction? What lay beneath the surface of their monstrous legacy? As the rain cascaded in sheets, an unexpected figure emerged from the heart of the crowd, a woman clad in tattered robes, her hair wild yet vibrant, exuding an energy that drew eyes. Many knew her as a seer, one who had once spoken of the Nephilim's prophecy with clarity. She lifted her hands toward the rail of gray clouds, and her voice, though cracked, resonated like a bell in the stillness between raindrops. The giants have not forsaken us. They are a forgotten part of our story, one that must be embraced to understand the depths of our situation. Cautiously, the crowd leaned in, fangs of fear replaced by a flicker of curiosity. They questioned her words. What can the giants offer us in this time of despair? Are they not the cause of our ruin? The seer paused, her gaze penetrating the hearts around her. Their legacy is woven into our very fabric. Their might could protect, their wisdom guide. But they are lost to grief, misunderstood by those who only see their size and strength. She spoke of the bonds that once existed between humanity and these colossal beings, the shared tears of creation and destruction, intertwined in an eternal dance. As she spoke, the ground beneath them buckled, hinting at some unseen battle waged by the giants in the depths of the waters. A distant rumble confirmed the struggling giants were being summoned by the echoes of humanity's desperation. The seer painted a darker scenario. Cosmic choice was being laid bare. Not all giants unveil their hearts through might, she urged with urgency. Some carry burdens that could tether their power to the light of hope. The air thickened once more, the storm dropping its heavy veil in rhythm with the hearts of the people. The questions thrummed through every soul like a pulsing drum. What must we do? They murmured in unison. Was there a way to connect with these beings they had feared? Was reconciliation even possible, or would they remain locked in silence, crumbling beneath the weight of resentment and sorrow? As another clap of thunder sounded, those in the crowd began to feel a shift, a deeper resonance between the earthly realm and what lay beyond. In that moment of uncertainty, a vision of the Nephilim formed in many minds, an image of grandeur and despair, of loyalty and betrayal. With it, wider questions emerged, eclipsing their current turmoil. Were they not all, in their own ways, bearers of burdens long lost to history? The woman looked around, her eyes glistening with tears not of sorrow but of profound understanding. In knowing them, we might know ourselves. Their history is our own, and from that truth, we may rise anew. Could the nature of the flood truly be more than just a test of survival? As hope intertwined with fear, the crowd stood at a crossroads, with the shimmering light still flickering in the distance. The flood, once envisioned solely as an end, now whispered of beginnings. The question pressed upon their hearts as they gazed into the tempest. What truth would they uncover if they dared to step into the unknown and reach for the giants? As the storm surged around them, the seer's voice rose to match the wind, calling forth the lost stories that shaped their world. The crowd, now united in purpose, felt the pulse of history beneath their feet, the rhythm of lives intertwined with that of the mighty Nephilim. Each of you carries a lineage, a thread woven into this vast tapestry of existence. The giants were not mere beasts of power, they were reflections of our own unbridled desires, each giant representing a facet of humanity that we have abandoned. Their fall did not occur without reason. We too must confront the shadows we have cast aside. She gestured toward the mingling clouds, where flashes of light danced like souls engaging in their age-old battle. To find them, we must journey into the depths of our own hearts. Each fear you feel, each sorrow you clutch, is the echo of a giant's cry longing to be embraced, reconciled, and understood. Can we muster the courage to confront what we have deemed monstrous? The crowd stirred, their uncertain breaths mingling with the gusts racing through their midst. Some remembered tales of giants, not as mere legends, but as kin whose brilliance once illuminated the darkest of paths. Were they not, in their greatness, reflections of our own possible glory? A voice arose, trembling yet bold, yes. The seer responded, her spirit ignited. The giants held wisdom that we have forsaken, a potential that resonates within us still. They, too, experienced chaos, their hearts filled with passions akin to our own. In our desire to demonize them, we lost sight of their humanity mirrored and magnified. But this is where hope dwells, ready to be rekindled. A crack of lightning illuminated a vision within each onlooker's mind, unveiled before their eyes the giants' tragic fall, their lament echoing through the ages. They saw not monsters but beings who wrestled with love and fear, who yearned for connection and understanding. Was it possible that the flood was not merely divine retribution, but an opportunity for redemption? As the conflict within their spirits raged, the storm seemed to shift as well. The rain fell steadier, a cleansing of sorts, washing away the remnants of doubt and anger. Yet as new realizations began to dawn, some remained hesitant, their hearts tangled in the fear of loss. What if their return heralds more chaos rather than resolution? Can we bear the weight of their histories? The seer's gaze softened. In avoiding the turbulence of their story, we isolate ourselves from our own healing. They are part of our great cycle, as we are of theirs. Our fear births calamity, our understanding births peace. Around her, many felt an inexplicable stirring, a flicker of resolve igniting within the depths of their souls. The air crackled with anticipation as their collective longing deepened. Could they extend their hands to the giants of old, knowing that it might cost them dearly? What fearful heart could resist the call to seek reconciliation? Each soul began to weave silent prayers into the storm, echoing their desire for connection over abandonment. In that charged atmosphere, a low rumble split the air, a sound both fierce and tender. The people, struck with a sudden awareness, looked to the sea as the waters began to churn. Something was emerging. Was it the giants responding to their hopes, or something darker yet? As they held their breaths, wrestling with their excitement and trepidation, a question lingered. The storm, a mirror of their tempestuous souls, beckoned them. Were they ready to confront their own giants, or would they let the flood wash away yet another chance for reunion? And so, amidst swelling waves and rolling thunder, hope and fear intertwined, forming a single thought: what would they find in the depths of connection, and would they have the courage to reach for giants who once shaped their world? The waters roared and swelled, forming a tempestuous curtain between the crowd and whatever was drawing near. The air grew thick with anticipation, igniting the hearts of those gathered. Some felt an urge within them navigating the Chao-san instinctive pull towards the rising tide, as if the giants they sought were calling out from the depths, "Hold steady." The seer cried amidst the thrashing winds. In these depths lies ancient wisdom. Yet we must tread with reverence and humility. The giant's legacy is not solely of terror, but of profound lessons that challenge our perception of the divine and the human experience alike. As her words flowed with a rhythmic intensity, the crowd leaned closer to hear her, their fears distilled into fragile hope. The waves roiled, and from the churning foam, the outlines of colossal forms began to emerge, shadowed and indistinct, yet undeniably present. It seemed as if the giants themselves were rising not as adversaries but as harbingers of something long neglected. A young man, no longer able to contain his curiosity, shouted into the maelstrom, "Are you here to judge us or to teach us?" His voice trembled, a mere echo against the growing thunder. The response was not immediate. For a heartbeat, the air shimmered, pregnant with silence and unspoken truths. Then, as if suspended in time, a figure broke free from the waves, its immense silhouette outlined by flashes of lightning, a form vast and familiar, imprinted in their collective memory. "Do not fear us." A voice reverberated from the being, rich and resonant, carrying with it an ancient sorrow. "We come not for judgment but for communion. We, too, were once trapped by yearning and isolation. Our narratives, entwined with yours, echo through creation itself." The flood sought to cleanse, but it also tore apart, creating scars on both mortal and immortal realms. The crowd gasped, their eyes wide with wonder as whispers of familiarity floated among them. Each soul within the gathering felt a pulse of kinship, a recognition of the struggles that both sides bore. They were beings who had known both the heights of creation and the depths of despair. "Your fears are valid," the giant continued, their voice vibrating through the very essence of the sea. "But we stand before you now, longing for understanding. In our fall, we only wished to reach beyond ourselves, to be seen, to be loved. Just as you do." With each word, hearts softened, barriers began to dissolve, yet an undercurrent of unease persisted. A woman stepped forward, her voice steady despite the crashing waves. "If you seek our understanding, how can we trust that chaos will not follow? We have witnessed your fall, our stories are of destruction, for every tale of ruin is one of rebirth," the giant answered, their immense figure reframed by the rolling fog as they drew closer. "The chaos of yesterday is the potential of tomorrow. Can we not find wisdom in the duality of existence? Light does not exist without dark, creation dances hand in hand with destruction. We ask you, will you rise with us, or sink deeper into the abyss of your fears?" As the enormity of the moment washed over them, revelations filled the minds of those present. They recalled generations of stories passed down through the ages, fables intertwined with caution and awe. Yet they also felt the tension between ancient wisdom and the fear of repeating history's mistakes. Could they learn from both the giants' glory and their downfall? Could they embrace their own complexities, the good, the bad, and the monstrous? Amid this crucible of thought and emotion, the winds shifted, carrying with them the scent of the sea mingled with something deeper, an energy that sparked the imagination and ignited the spirit. With hearts beating in unison, the gathered crowd hesitated, but once more, the burning question etched in every soul's mind: could they forge a path of reconciliation, weaving together the threads of their humanity with the essence of ancient giants? Or would they retreat once again, leaving the tides to carry their hopes away into the depths? The winds howled as the sea surged higher, yet amidst the chaotic energy that enveloped them, a curious stillness began to settle in the hearts of those gathered. The giants' resonant words lingered in the air, weaving together a tapestry of past and present, painting the profound complexity of existence in shades both beautiful and terrifying. As the crowd grappled with their uncertainty, a wise elder spoke up, her voice a soft contrast to the violence around them. "We have been warned of the giants since the dawn of our storytelling, yet here you stand before us not to incite fear but to share in our common journey. Why? What purpose do you seek in this communion?" The giant leaned down closer, allowing their immense form to be illuminated by flashes of lightning. "We come bearing truths long buried beneath layers of myth and fear. In our own fall, we too learned a vital lesson, that creation demands humility. We sought to touch the heavens and lost our way. What remains are echoes of our ambitions, the lessons of our hubris. Through connection lies the path to redemption." A murmur rippled through the audience. Some felt the glimmering thread of understanding beginning to weave amongst them, pulling them together like a delicate lace crafted from shared understanding. A man raised his voice, emboldened by an unexpected rush of courage. "If you seek redemption, how do we begin? We who have been crushed by your legacy of anguish. How can we trust that your presence here is not another shadow waiting to claim us?" The giant's eyes shimmered, reflecting the tumultuous waters. "Trust is not something easily granted. It is a fragile offering that must be built, moment by moment. We hold the past together, like vine and branch. You must know that we, too, felt the relentless tide of judgment and isolation. The flood was not solely an act of divine intervention, it was a consequence of our struggles. We yearned for connection and instead lost everything." A formidable yet serene presence emerged from the crowd, a figure cloaked in wisdom gathered through years of hardship. "Might we find strength in our stories then?" she said intently. "Will you share yours, that we might learn together? For every wreckage has its own narrative, a truth that could bind us across these waters." With a nod, the giants stretched their hand outward, and the air thickened with anticipation. "Come closer, and let our stories dance together upon the waves." As the crowd drew nearer to the waters, the realization washed over them that they stood at the threshold of an ancient dialogue, one where giants mingled with mortals, where aspirations and fears collided, and where every tale told carried the weight of potential renewal. The first giant began to share a parable steeped in pain and understanding. "Long ago, we soared high, constructed monuments to our pride, oblivious to the imbalances we created. We raged against our mortality and sought to be more than we were. Once, we believed ourselves gods among men, yet our arrogance carved paths of ruin. The lessons were inscribed in the very fabric of our beings, hidden until now, waiting for a moment such as this. As the tale unfolded, a spark ignited among the listeners, unveiling the threads that connected their lives to the giants. They absorbed each nuance, allowing the language of vulnerability to permeate the barriers built by years of fear. The costly lesson of pride resonated painfully, though it also offered a morsel of hope, the possibility of wisdom born from mistakes. Yet in the midst of this communion, an unsettling sensation began to fester within the hearts of the gathering. A quiet nagging doubt whispered insidiously to someone, if the giants only sought to transform their grief into our burden. Their reflections cast us into the depths of an ancient struggle, for the tides once turned against them could turn against us also. As their stories interwove against the backdrop of the stormy sea, the question loomed larger than the giants themselves: would the yearning for understanding foster a bridge to transcend the past? Or, in seeking redemption, would they merely repeat the cycles caught eternally in the waves of their shared humanity? The tempest roared on, yet in the eye of the storm lay an unsettling revelation. The power of unity and the potential for rebirth hung delicately, waiting to be seized or struck down by the cycles of fear and doubt. Would they extend their hands towards the giants before them, or would the whispers of apprehension hold them back, casting their shared fate into the depths once more? As the giant's tail bowed to silence, the air thrummed with an undercurrent of anticipation. The winds, though wild, now carried whispers of truth mingled with the salty scent of the sea. It was as if the universe itself paused, waiting for the next thread of fate to be woven into the fabric of this extraordinary encounter. A young woman, her countenance brightened by resolve, stepped forth from the gathering. "You speak of the past, but we stand here amid the storm, not merely to listen but to learn. Tell us, great giant, how can the burdens of your history transform our future? How can we escape the echo of your folly?" Her words, though infused with reverence, reverberated with urgency. The giant regarded her with a deepened gaze, the lights of heaven mirrored in his searching eyes. "Your urgency is a seed of wisdom, for the act of seeking shall always bear fruit. In the intertwining of our destinies, we discover that your fears and our follies cannot remain shackled to isolation. Listen closely, for the key to understanding is buried within your own hearts." With that, the giant began to share of their own reckoning a time long after the flood, when they roamed the earth as shadows of their former selves. "We wandered through lands driven to despair, each step a reminder of our past transgressions. Isolation became our master, the echoes of our arrogance haunted us, shaping us into husks of who we used to be. Yet within that bleakness, we found the spark of possibility. It was in the silent spaces, nestled in the cracks of despair, that we uncovered the rapture of humility." From the crowd, an older man, bent with age yet sharp in mind, exclaimed, "But how did you find the strength to reshape your essence? How did your spirits lift from the grave of regret?" The fervor in his question revealed the yearning for redemption and implicit hope that their shared experience could lead to harmony. The giant continued, "In our journey, we uncovered a truth paramount to existence, the weave of kinship amongst all beings. While we gnashed our teeth against the weight of desolation alone, we learned that vulnerability could forge bonds stronger than any monument. The act of acknowledging our brokenness became, paradoxically, the seed of strength, allowing us to grow anew." Their words danced like light glimmering over the undulating waves, illuminating the thoughts swirling in the hearts of the gathered. With collective breaths held, they began to reflect upon their own disparate burdens, pirouettes of sorrow and struggle, joys and hopes cloaked in shadows. Then a child from the back, untainted by fear yet brimming with wonder, piped up, "But what if we stumble as you have? What if we hold the same ambition for greatness, only to find ourselves lost again?" The innocence of the question resonated, its simplicity cutting through the weight of their fears. The giant knelt down, their immense frame casting a protective shadow over the child. "Ah, dear one, it is not the stumbling that defines us but the will to rise again. Both giants and mortals alike are bound by the cyclical nature of existence. Each stumble is an invitation for growth, much like the waves that crash upon the shore, retreating only to rise again with renewed vigor. It is in the process of overcoming that we discover the essence of our divine nature." Amidst this dialogue, a figure emerged quietly, an elder among them, who had remained silent until now. Yet what will become of those who cannot find their footsteps in this dance of redemption? What of the pain still harbored in our hearts? Will they find solace, or merely dwell in echoes of despair? Her voice quivered, holding the weight of many years. The atmosphere thickened with vulnerability, and hesitation rippled through the assembly. The giant, observing the interplay of hope and trepidation, replied, "Every journey begins with a single step, my friends. The storms we face do not care for our fears, they challenge our very resolve. But understand, in acknowledging the pain, you can carve out a future. Your wounds are not merely scars. They can be badges worn with honor." As the crowd contemplated this profound understanding, the winds swirled more violently, and a heavy silence fell, punctuated only by the rumble of thunder. Here lay the crux of their unfolding narrative, a juxtaposition of hope tethered to the complexities of their human plight. In this moment, a challenging question lingered in the atmosphere. was redemption a gift reserved only for those who sought it, or an inevitable journey that every soul must traverse through the storms of their making? Only time would reveal if they would embrace this path together or remain ensnared by the hold of fear the giants had once known. As the winds howled and clouds loomed overhead, a sense of tension gripped the assembly like a vice. A palpable question hung in the air: would they have the courage to confront the shadows that lingered within them? It was as if the universe had drawn a breath, poised on the brink of revelation, entirely enmeshed in the exchange between the giant and the people. The elder's voice once again broke through the ether, soft yet resolute. If our burdens are indeed badges of honor, how do we move forward without being haunted by the memories of our failures? Can these badges truly guide us, or will they forever weigh heavy on our souls? The giant stood tall, silhouetted against the stormy backdrop. To navigate the tempest within, one must first reconcile with the past. Acknowledge it, embrace it, and allow it to teach you the lessons it carries. The path of transformation begins not in denial, but in the recognition that kindness toward oneself is the balm for anguish. An air of introspection filled the gathering as each person internalized the giant's words. Past mistakes twisted like thorny vines in their hearts, yet the notion of kindness felt distant, yet insistently close. The storm raged, mirroring their inner turmoil where hope wrestled with the fear of recurrence. The young woman spoke up again, emboldened by the shared vulnerability. But what if these badges become shackles instead of shields? What if they distort our vision of who we can become? Can we find a way to ensure that our past does not consume our future? Ah, the giant's voice resonated, deep and resonant. The very nature of existence is an intricate dance of light and shadow. To transform your pain into purpose, you must cultivate the soil of your spirit. Tend it with forgiveness and with understanding, as you would a garden. The light of hope breaks through the darkness of regret, yet it is not a distant stare, it resides within each of you. At that moment, a sudden flash of lightning illuminated the scene, casting long shadows against the cliffs. It was as if the divine, in all its grandeur, reached down to remind them of the stark contrast between light and dark. Within that illumination, the crowd visualized their fears and aspirations laid bare, vulnerable against the heavens. A garden thrives not by the absence of storms, but through their many trials. The giant continued, the urgency now palpable, and so too does the soul flourish. You must ask yourselves, what are you willing to grow despite the tempest? Are you prepared to dig deep, cultivate resilience, and let your spirit anchor amid the chaos? The older man, still burning with an insatiable desire for clarity, challenged, but tell us, great giant, what if we are not equipped to sow those seeds of resilience? If the soil of our hearts has turned to stone, how can we ever hope to nurture it? Even stones succumb to the passage of time, the giant replied, their voice softening. The warmth of understanding, the light of compassion, these are the elements that can soften the hardest of hearts. It is not a matter of whether you are equipped, but whether you are willing to embark upon the journey. The essence of transformation lies embedded in your heart's intention. Each of you carries within the potential to breathe life into the barren places of your spirit. As the waves crashed increasingly violently against the shore, the echoes of the giant's words collided within the gathered crowd. Their expressions shifted from questioning to reflective, as they regarded one another with newfound recognition. Humanity's plight, shared in the folds of their collective storyline, bound them in commonality. Silent deliberation enveloped the scene, as each wrestled with their own fears and flickering hopes. A flicker of illumination shined through the storm, sparking a profound realization within the assembly, a thought so raw and unrefined yet illuminating. Did the giant's folly retreat only within the pages of time, or did it resonate in the corridors of their own hearts, beckoning them to determine whether they would forge a new legacy, or be forever defined by the echoes of their own shadows? And thus, encased in this persistent storm, an inquiry arose for them all: would they dare to confront their giants within, or allow the tempest of their past to dictate the course of their future? Time alone would cradle the answer in its bosom. The winds continued their plaintive wail as the giant's words lingered in the air like a prayer unfulfilled. The storm swirled, echoing the internal turbulence within the crowd, which stood as if suspended in the moment between fear and faith. As they contemplated their shared plight, the sky rippled with a hue that hinted at an unfurling dawn. With wide eyes, the young woman spoke again, an anchor in a sea of uncertainty. But what does it truly mean to embrace our past? If the fallen giants of old haunt our stories, how can we stand against their legacy, a legacy steeped in defeat, fear, and regret? Is there redemption in accepting that lineage? The giant paused, the silence thick like fog, before answering. Every history bears shadows, but also light. The descendants of those who fell can rise again, redefined by their choices. Seek not only to shed your past but to understand it. The tales you inherit possess lessons wrapped in the very fabric of survival. Begin with the realization that acceptance breeds freedom. A tremor of hope rippled through the assembly. The elder recollected the tales of old, of ancestors who faced calamity, yet wielded resilience like a shield. Yet, how do we sift through the narratives? Some giants were cast down in shame, banished in defeat, others became the heroes of old. How do we draw a line between what to embrace and what to forsake? Distinction lies in perception, the giant replied. What appears as folly may contain the seeds of wisdom, and what glimmers with promise may harbor a deception. You must cultivate discernment. It is an art learned through the grace of failures and the clarity of intention. The crowd, transfixed by the giant's fervor, teetered on the brink of understanding. They felt a shift within us stirring deep beneath layers of doubt. Within the storm's chorus, amid the crash of waves, the first signs of dawn broke over the horizon, casting a soft glow over their faces. Flashes of realization sparked brighter than the lightning, illuminating the dark recesses they had avoided for too long. As they mulled over the giant's insistence on discernment, the man with a heavy heart asked, what if discernment leads us to recognize not just the giants but the flaws within ourselves? How then, when we see our own failings clearly, can we ever summon the courage to forge forward? The giant's gaze softened, brimming with compassion. To confront the giants within is to embrace the duality of your being. Within each soul lies the sacred and the flawed. Accept that imperfection, for it creates the tapestry of human experience. Growth arises from an unyielding struggle against adversity, both outside and within. Remember, your greatest triumph may stem from your fiercest battle. A powerful stillness settled upon the assembly like a blanket, enveloping them in depth and reflection. The maiden's heart raced as she dared to wrestle with an idea that began to form. Could it be that in acknowledging their failures and the darkness handed down through generations, the giants they bore within, they held the keys to their personal rebirth? And yet, as the first rays of light whispered through the clouds, illuminating the once shadowy figures around her, a disquiet unsettled her heart. Was the courage to rise truly within reach, or merely a dream wrapped in folly? Would they find the bravery to transform the shadow of their legacy, or stay ensnared in a web spun tight by fear? As dawn began to paint the world anew, one final question flickered in the depths of their souls: would they heed the call to rewrite their story, or remain heirs to the giants of their past, bound forever to the tales of yore? The dawn unfolded gently, revealing a world transformed. As the assembly turned toward the horizon, the familiar home of the valley glistened with morning dew, a sight that mirrored the hope burgeoning within. The gentle rays of light danced through the branches of the trees, casting intricate shadows that told a story of their own. Yet, anticipation hung thick in the air, filled with the promise of both revelation and challenge. The giant stood tall, his figure a silhouette against the backdrop of awakening day. He sensed the stirrings among the crowd and continued with urgency, the giants of your ancestry are not the end of your tale, but the challenge of your character. Perhaps, within that struggle, lies the key to grasping the deeper mystery of your purpose. As if waking from slumber, a murmuring arose amongst the people. One of the elders, a keeper of many stories, stepped forward. If we are to confront our own giants, be they within or without, we must prepare ourselves for what lies ahead. The ebb and flow of our histories, what does it tell us of God's covenant? And how can we, as descendants shaped by both victory and defeat, embody that covenant in this moment? The giant considered the question carefully. God's covenant is a living promise, a thread that weaves through every generation, binding the broken to the healed. It whispers truths not understood but felt. To embrace it is to trust in something greater, a tapestry woven with grace, wherein your struggles become the very fabric of the revelation. A contemplative silence settled in the hearts of those gathered, each wrestling with the power of that promise. What could emerge from acknowledging not just their triumphs but the failures that stained their histories? In the depth of their fears, they sensed a rhythm, a pulsing connection to the divine that beckoned them forward. The maiden felt her heart swell with each word, yet doubt quivered at the edges of her spirit. What if our past is too heavy to bear? What if the narratives that bind us in chains of guilt outweigh the possibility of redemption? A flicker crossed the giant's majestic features as he shook his head. It is written that when the flood descended upon the earth, it was not merely to erase the giants of corruption, but to rebirth the promise of life. With each storm endured and every flood weathered, there is an invitation to begin anew. You hold that same power. What you perceive as chains could simply be the roots from which new life can spring forth. The crowd sensed the stirring, the air charged with the intensity of possibilities unfolding. Among them, a man arose, his voice trembling yet fierce. Then how do we navigate the chasm of fear that stands between us and our transformation? How can we wield courage when the echoes of defeats ring loud? Courage is a muscle, the giant replied with conviction. It grows through the trials endured and the fears faced. Gossip of past failures may linger in your mind, but it is the choices of this moment that will echo through time. Embrace the uncertainty, take the step, and gather wisdom along the way. With each word, the congregation drew closer to understanding, yet unease still crept in. The maiden felt it again, an echo of ancient fears whispering that the path of discernment might not guarantee safety. It may, in truth, drive them into the heart of darkness to confront the very giants they feared. The sun climbed higher, illuminating both the road ahead and the shadows that lingered. A final question lingered in the air, heavy with the weight of possibilities. Would they muster the courage to leap into the unknown and redefine their legacy, or would they remain bound by their past, forever overshadowed by the giants languishing in history's forgotten corners? Could facing the depth of their darkness unveil secrets potent enough to transform their shared narrative? As dawn fully broke, the sunlight washed over the tumult of the previous night, transforming the land from a place shrouded in dread to one imbued with promise. The giants, amidst crashing waves and rolling thunder, had revealed not only their own legacies but the intertwined destinies of the giants and humanity. What had unfolded seemed like a fragile truce, a delicate tapestry woven with threads of divine essence and human spirit. Standing in the aftermath, the air heavy with expectancy, each person felt the stirring of a collective consciousness awakening to an extraordinary possibility. Recognizing both their limitlessness and vulnerabilities, they faced one another with newfound resolve. For the giants who rose from the depths had not merely borne the weight of their own stories but were reflections of the unrelenting truths humanity too bore. The seer, having listened intently to the back and forth of souls in desperation, raised her voice once more. Now we stand at the precipice of choice, having witnessed giants not merely of flesh but of spirit. Their stories reveal not only what we can discard but also what we must embrace. Her breath hitched as she continued. Let us look inward, let us remember that we are not made extraordinary in isolation, but through the echoes of our shared journeys. It was as if her words dropped seeds of intuition into the souls gathered, and one brave soul stepped forward, a boy, youthful and unburdened, yet wise beyond years. With innocent but piercing clarity, he shouted, "What if we are all giants too? What if our hearts are capable of lifting the weight of both glory and failings? Can we not forge a new legacy?" A hush fell over the multitude, the weight of his question resonating like a bell, its sound weaving through their very essence. The giant before them lowered down, bringing their colossal visage close to the boy, their eyes shimmering like stars awakening. "Indeed, child, you encapsulate the essence of this moment. True giants are not reckoned by height or strength, but by the courage to embrace their complexity, their shadows and their light. Each heartbeat can be a testament to rising again, a chance to rewrite our narratives." Whispers spread like wildflowers amongst the crowd, fueled by the illumination that dawn's light cast over their reflections. The impacts were shifting, and shoulders straightened as these mortals began reframing the giants within their histories not as burdens to bear, but rather pillars upon which they could build. They could turn tales of despair into blueprints for endurance and love. A woman, lifting her voice to meet the winds, shared her resolve. No longer shall the scars of our legacies dictate our terms. We own the story, and we will redefine who we are meant to be. Mired in pain, we have remained silent long enough. Only through understanding our past can we soar toward the promise of tomorrow. Rumbling assent echoed through the crowd, the energy palpable, electric and awakening. They felt their histories reshaping, ghosts of their fears now striding alongside them rather than haunting them. They understood that acceptance was not weakness but rather a profound act of courage and love. The burdens that had once weighed them down were stripped bare, shedding light upon their shared humanity. The seer's voice became a hymn of affirmation, you are both the shadows and the light, the giants and the humble. Will you not take each other's hands, holding one another accountable, as you weave new tales together? The gathering surged forward, hands reaching, hearts pounding with infinite possibility, as they united in a collective embracia tapestry melding the triumphs of the past with the promise of the future, a movement unlike any they had seen before. This communion, this new understanding, was a rebirth from the flood. They would rise like a phoenix from the ashes of despair once more. Their resolve solidified the promise that echoed through the landscape, together we are stronger, forged in shared struggles, illuminating pathways toward a brighter horizon. Through recognizing our fears and vulnerabilities, we discover our true strength. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, washing the world in golden warmth, the giants turned, their immense frames growing faint in the distance. Yet they did not fade into nothingness, for they left behind a lesson carved into the very essence of earthly existence. The giants had not merely come to impart knowledge, they had come to awaken their legacy within those who stood before them, to awaken the dormant potential that slumbered just below the surface. That moment of awakening, amidst the dawning realization wrapped in the spirals of hope, spiritual transformation surged through humanity. They understood now that while the threads of their past held shadows, the possibility of becoming who they were meant to be existed within the collective future they chose to create. As they turned back towards the sea, a cry rose, a chorus of joy and unity reflecting the belief that together they could navigate the storms yet to come. Waves crashed upon the shore while the light penetrated the depths, illuminating the path forward. They had shattered the chains of despair, and in doing so, embraced a legacy marked not by giants who had fallen, but by those who would rise, a testament to faith and endurance. The echoes of their shared commitment and interconnectedness flowed through the air, carving their destiny into a new chapter. They would walk together, shoulder to shoulder, navigating the shadows of their past as carriers of hope into a brighter and more compassionate future. Thus, the giants of old were forever changed, seen anew not as destroyers, but as teachers. They had bridged the monumental gulf between divinity and humanity, inviting thorough reflection on the very nature of existence. The story of the Nephilim, woven with both grief and grace, would resonate throughout age, an enduring reminder that, with courage, faith, and unity, even the weight of giants can be transformed into the flight of soaring hope.